Hey, what's up, guys? How's it going? So we're gonna cover Bon Appetit. This is the team you want to use, because this is the team, right? Right. This is what the whole world says is the one team that will win it all and kill level one right the hell away every single time. Every single time. No monster hunting gear, no monster hunting boosts required. It's gonna kill it every time, right? 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 Oh, wait, what? 76%. What in God's name is wrong? Okay. Obviously, the problem with this team, and I don't know why someone somewhere suggested it, had the right idea, had the right intentions, but practically isn't a solution when it comes to actually doing the most damage to Bon Appetit. Don't know why someone suggested it, but it's not the answer. Okay? If you're trying to do more damage, you always want to stack your actual DPS in a correspondence with the amount of DPS that you can do overall. There are some places that you can improve it, but one of the things that you do need to understand is that this guy is a magic defense based hero, so do not use magic teams. Alright? But most importantly, with this particular team, you can, if you so choose, you can use a Death Archer. Alright? This team, kind of much similar to Voodoo Shaman and kind of the approach, is not much different, really. Because what you're only aiming to do here is really do the most damage possible, right? I mean, you'll notice that even in this situation, I'm doing 69. It's not very much, and it's, in fact, even worse than the other team. And you're probably thinking, well, why is that? Well, if you actually look at the battle, right? And this is the thing about like a Bon Appetit in comparison to like a lot of other monsters, is you'll notice that, well, that not exactly an ideal thing. It doesn't really help a whole lot of anyone for that matter. You know, that initial block in the middle is actually not a good thing. Like right from the start, you don't want that. All right. Now, I think a lot of people out there struggle with Bon Appetit, at least trying to one knock them, and there's kind of a, I don't know, a lingering problem I've seen with the community in terms of how to deal with this particular familiar, or, well, for that matter, not really a familiar, but a monster, but you get my point. But, it's like, I've seen a lot of people struggle with this guy, and it really kind of boils down to the fact that, whether you switch out a Death Archer for, say, a Shade, for example, or you swap it out for, maybe instead of using, say, Death Archer, maybe you want to use Trickster. Okay, I mean, none of those options are bad. Okay, like even this team, which may sound bad, may look bad, in practice, you'll see that it kind of it's. I always find it interesting. I'll just leave it at that. It's always interesting in practice. Because again, you never really know. Now, of course, when you deal with the higher levels, I'll show you here in a bit. And again, I always like to kind of give you guys, I always like to show you different teams. Part of the reason why I do this, and again, I'm sure some of you guys watching the video are probably like, I just want to know the team, man. Why are you making me have to watch the whole damn video to figure out the right team? It's because you gotta understand, right? When it comes to finding out what team to use, it's going to technically be different for everybody, as the team that you have access to at the time is going to increase. And really what I'm trying to teach you, okay, is to know exactly what you're looking for, so that when you are trying to make adjustments, you can kind of make them on the fly without really having to just blindly assume that this is the one team that does it all. Because you'll see here, even this is at 69, right? And you're probably thinking, okay, well, you've swapped two heroes, okay, and you've accomplished nothing. You've yet to show me a knockout. All right, like, what the heck am I supposed to use? I know. I get it. I feel you. All right, but the thing is, all right, and this is the thing with Bon Appetit in particular, is that it is not a particular familiar, like, monster in particular that I don't really feel like a lot of people know how to crack, like, Bon Appetit is interesting in the sense that, like, even now, right? Yeah, if I go to, out of my way to look this up on the internet, right? Which I'm sure most of you do, okay? The team that they're recommending right now is to swap out a Scarlet Bolt or a Trickster, all right? So their suggestion right now is that you should take your Death Archer out or your Scarlet Bolt out, and that is somehow supposed to do more damage. Supposed to, right? That, you know, that the answer here is not whether or not you have this or this or this or this. It's not that, because this doesn't matter. And neither does the Death Archer. It does not matter. Okay? That, you know, in the end, no matter what you use, this particular team is mildly flawed. You know, in the sense that really you're kind of thinking, well, what team should I use? Now, you could pull a Demon Slayer out and put a Shade. Now, that's just kind of interesting because, you know, a lot of under most circumstances, people use Demon Slayer and Scarlet Bolt in tandem. But like, if suppose you put Shade in here, I always find this interesting. I always do. And it's partly because of his ultimate, and partly of a few other things. But you'll notice that, like, what ends up happening here is we do 64. It drops a considerable amount. Okay, but you actually have to understand that, you know, when it comes to DPS, and again, this is one of the weird particular monsters that's out there, is that getting that full 100k knockout is actually pretty hard to achieve compared to most monsters. Like, getting him actually knocked out will take you a little bit of time to figure out, because again, this particular monster, as you can tell, has a lot of flexibility when it comes to being able to turn everybody into meat. And it only gets worse by the fact that, like, every time you sit here and try to figure out a better team for it, like in here, you can see that, you know, it's not that Shade's doing bad or anything. Okay, it's just that you were not able to do enough damage. And not doing it fast enough. We need more DPS than we even have now. And it's partially because, you know, whenever Bon Appetit basically ultimates, it kind of negates your ability to really be able to do anything. In some sense, it actually stops you in your tracks from being able to actually do anything. So then you kind of have to think to yourself, well, if you can't use Shade, right, and you can't use Demon Slayer, right, you can't use Scarlet Bolt, so what about taking Scarlet Bolt out and using Trickster, right? Because that was the team that was being suggested. This is supposed to be the God tier team, right? Because again, every team's different, and frankly, everybody seems to have some idea of what they think will work best. But even in these circumstances, on level 1s, I don't know. You know, I mean, ultimately, I mean, you gotta almost kind of, it's a matter of testing, right? You gotta have to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth until eventually you get what you want, right? And you'll see here, you know, we're at 50. So, I mean, you can see that swap, although as nice as it sounded, is not good. Okay, so again, I don't know who recommended that swap, but as you can tell, the swap does not work at all. All right. And again, I'm only disproving some of these because for some reason they're lingering around, and a lot of people are using them thinking that they do the most damage. And as you can tell, that did not work. Okay, like I swapped these different teams out to show you kind of what's going on here. You cannot do enough damage with this, and you cannot do enough damage with the other options. So what kind of damage can I expect to do if I was to swap out my Death Archer in return for like a Shade? Which again, remember, this is the team that we ended up going with last time around. Okay. The only thing that I feel that you kind of lose when you do this is, you know, ultimately you're getting anti-defense drops here. Okay. And then when you go to Shade, you're kind of it's a mixed cannon. Now, you could put in a tank like this guy. All right, I can show you what happens if you do this. Because again, I'm sure some of you remembered from last video that I explained to you that he does do defense drops. You know, if you're really curious, you know, is that guy the answer to Bon Appetit? Is he the one that we need to make this 100% drop? Yeah, and that's, I don't know. I'm sure some of you are probably thinking, probably not. Probably yes, probably not. Probably yes, probably yeah. Oh, it's 60%. So that answers your question. Okay. Yeah, as much as I'd love for it to be a one-hit knockout, it just isn't. All right. And really, to be truthful with you, okay, there really isn't a one-hit knockout when it comes to Bon Appetit. There really isn't, unless you've got Monster Hunting gear. It's pretty tough to actually pull off a full knockout on Bon Appetit as it is. All right. And that even applies with even the higher levels as well. It's really not going to get any better. So, like I said, I honestly genuinely think that this team that I mentioned at the start of the video, this is like one of the better teams that you can actually use. It's baffling, really, that, you know, if you even pull like Black Crow out, for example, and swap out that for like, you know, a Trickster, for example. I mean, you can try it and see what it does, but for the most part, I mean, whether it be Black Crow, Trickster, or whomever, the DPS there is always going to be a pretty tricky one. And I mean, even this, right? Which, again, for the last bit of the video, I thought I'd go ahead and kind of show you, you know, what does it do? And we got a minute left, so this is kind of an interesting timing that we've got going on here with the monsters. But I mean, even still, okay, they're just swapping this one team and trying it out on level 1. You'll see here that even though I've suggested all these teams, the most that it can do is 72. And it's close, but not all the way. And so really, ultimately, if you really want to be able to do that DPS, guys, you got to pull on that Monster Hunting gear, and you've got to get yourself some wonderful damage boost. And of course, if you don't have Monster Hunting gear, then the only other thing you can really get is this. Otherwise, for most players, it's just kind of inevitable that you're going to have to hit this guy more than once. Now, like I said, you know, and it applies even with level 4s and 5s. It's not much different. But I hope you guys found this video helpful. Check out my other videos, and I'll see you guys next time.